Since we've been cartel,
We got Reese on the track.
I count 7 balls. Busting out the key blast. My name's Weiss and I'm known to shoot key fast. I'm an angel, graceful, angelic. Lord Beerus be hating because I stole his chick. And I love food on the dish quick. I told Rome make some little bitty fish sticks. Ooh, damn, we just wanna have a good day. I be so fly, I just fly away.
Welcome everyone to the Jackal's Lair. You may call me Suffering or just Keith. Whichever one doesn't matter to me. Jackal's Lair is just the name of the YouTube. I haven't been doing much of YouTube lately with these videos, shows, or podcasts lately because last year my fiance and I had broken up and a lot of shit happened. I don't think anyone cared to hear my sad ass story. Well, if you look around and see I got new artwork up, I now have an office and a big screen TV. Yay! I'm going to start adding more effort into my videos. Seek out more people to join my videos and I have big plans for my channel. Like my boy GTG told me about a show on YouTube called Internet Bloodsports, that my idea of getting the gaming community together to talk about games, anime, movies, to share our hobbies would be a great idea to do my own thing like Internet Bloodsports.
There's a new sensation that hit YouTube about a few months ago called Internet Bloodsports. It comprised mainly of 2 channels that would bring on guests to have a debate or screaming match to see who would come out the victor, but now has brought about new channels on the way. This video is going to help you understand what Internet Bloodsports is and where it is today. So you're probably wondering when Bloodsports first originated. This might not be the whole truth, but whatever. Just go with it. It all started by one man named Tonkasaw that decided to take a glance at the Kraut incident that was blowing up in December. Another guy by the name of Mr. Medicare stirred the pot to get people to start debating and yelling at each other, so Tonkasaw could use his channel as a conduit for such occurrences. Andy Warski decided to hop on this train and invited people to a stream about the Kraut incident to see if there was a potential conclusion to this whole debacle. Really, this is just Kraut playing 5D chess, but we can't exactly be for sure. Andy ended up changing his channel over this debacle and decided to use his channel as a way for people with unpopular opinions, mostly the alt-right, to have a voice. Tonkasaw not only hosted Internet Bloodsports on his channel, but participated them as well. Same thing as Andy, despite being hosts. He currently has an unbeaten win streak of 56-0 on his channel. Now that you have a synopsis of when Internet Bloodsports started, I can give you a description of how it works. Internet Bloodsports is having 2 or more people, the usual number being 2, debating each other over whatever subject they agreed to, such as having an ethno-state, whether or not someone doxed someone else, or what's currently trending like gun laws, or even whether or not it's legal to acquire the liberalist trademark. Some channels have certain rules like Tonka's, but he pretty much allows anyone to be on his channel as long as they're entertaining, for the most part. The name comes from the movie Bloodsport because it has a similar style of wanting to beat the ever-living shit out of each other through banter and or argumentation strategies such as yelling, screaming, or providing evidence to back up your claim and avoiding every single logical fallacy in the universe. Usually, the former 2 parts, not necessarily the last part. Both Warski and Tonka's channels have a co-host. The co-host for Warski is JF, known for being a biologist, and the co-host for Tonka is Failure, known for actually not being a failure. Both of these men help moderate the debates and are the foils to the main host. Many different internet celebrities have either been invited or have appeared on Internet Bloodsports, including Sargon of Akkad, Brittany Venti, Styx Hexenhammer 666, Richard Spencer, Count Dankula, Mr. Medicare, and many, many more. Now, you might be wondering if Internet Bloodsports is a dying breed. Well, I don't think so. According to Tonkasaw's view count on each video for the past 3 months, it has been getting bigger. Look at the views at the beginning of Internet Bloodsports. Now look at the view count for recent videos. The newer videos have higher view counts than the older videos by a significant margin. Now this is also due to having internet celebrities coming on, but this helps the case of it getting popular more so than it is dying off. Now let's look at Andy Warski's view count from the beginning of Bloodsports to his most recent set of videos. Andy's views are smaller than they were previously because he decided to have more normal debates than he did back then. And since JF became a co-host, it changed the formula of how the streams were run, and helped establish a more civilized platform than a barbaric one similar to Internet Bloodsports on Tonka's channel. There is also a recent tweet out there that Warski wanted to settle things down. Tonka also has around 1,500 to 3,000 people watching his streams between Monday and Friday, which is a significant boost since the beginning of Internet Bloodsports. Baked Alaska has also joined Internet Bloodsports as well, has become a lot more famous because of it, especially when he had Tariq Nasheed on one of his streams debating Jared Taylor, the polar opposites of each other. Also, other channels such as Kronos, American Pride, and Swedish Mate have clips from these streams if you are interested in learning more about Internet Bloodsports. But the crux of this video is to answer the question, what is Internet Bloodsports? To me, it's entertainment. You know how the WWE tries to put on a show for the fans no matter what, even if it is scripted? Well, Internet Bloodsports is pretty much the same thing, besides matches not being scripted. It's like if Congress yelled at each other in debates. Oh wait, don't they do that already? Or if you would mix boxing and chess into one sport. Oh wait, that already exists. Don't expect every stream to have high-octane action or be as entertaining as a live stream. Since things aren't always scheduled, it can be random on how things turn out, like having a special guest on, or two random people fighting over who's more of a cuck. You never know for sure. Overall, Internet Bloodsports has been an influential rollercoaster ride of debates, criticisms, and has become a new way for people to interact with each other on YouTube. What started as a simple talk show or an anti-SJW channel have now become the epicenters for verbal assault against one another and to some extent intellectual debates that have expanded the Overton window. Internet Bloodsports is not for everyone and should be taken with caution, as you might be challenged at any moment to come onto the stream.
I hope people will join in and take part of the Jackal's Lair podcast. Before I begin with my topic of my show, a little background on where I got the name Suffering Hunter. I used to roleplay on MySpace before MySpace became straight up shit. I went by Jackal Huga, then Suffering Huga, that was the son of Jackal. Here's a few pictures back in the day. Now, on to my main topics. Indy is bigger than ever. It also is dead. Says Rami Ismail. I'm sorry, my reading comprehension is a little off. I apologize for that. Nobody's perfect. Indy is bigger than ever. Also, it is dead. It is both those things, says Ismail. The beautiful thing about Indy is that it has grown beyond any proportion we could ever thought. In 2010, the whole idea of the indie was like punk rock kind of a culture. Like, fuck these AAA assholes, which obviously is super immature. I love AAA and all of that, but we needed something to kick against to start something. End quote.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Carl from Slimbus Industries. Me and the 6 other guys on our team have been working really hard on our new game, Jimbo the Robo. Now, this game has 30 hours of single-player content, and it's $19.99 on Steam now. So pick it up with a pal. We're also going to have free DLC down the line, so we're always going to keep it fresh and new.
It's nothing like my game. Check out my new game, Space Gunman. It's got 17 hours of single-player content. But if you get the Season Pass that we already developed earlier, you'll get another 4 hours of content for only $39.99 in addition to the $59.99 of the base game.
Now, my opinion, indie is a very important in the gaming industry, and for us consumers, there has been a lot of indie games that has blew AAA games out of the water. We need indie games to remind AAA gaming companies that we need new talent and fresh ideas in our community. Some indie companies has even grown bigger and used their money to make bigger and better games. I wish nothing for the best of these indie companies that put their community before anything else. Let me remind you of the games that we was blessed from the hard work of these indie companies before we start to say indie is starting to die. The Witcher games. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
Don't do that, you're scaring me.
I'm sorry.
Never! Why are you gonna come in with a UMP like that, homie?
He's knocked out.
Oh, he's knocked out?
Yeah, I cut him through the window, dumbass. Hang on. Alright. Morning! How's it going? Where's your teammate, dude?
My teammate's here.
Uh-oh.
Oh!
I see him!
He's...
Got him!
Oh,
Thank you!
thank you for the call! What the fuck? I asked him where he was and he just told me straight out.
Well, that's one way to do it. What a nice guy.
Nice start, idiot.
No, I'm not hacking. I'm not hacking right now.
Yeah, you fucking cunt.
Wait, I'm not hacking right now. I don't have my hacks on.
Dude, you fucking hug. You shoot me through the wall, you fucking idiot.
Wait. Oh, I have them on. I'm sorry. I'm gonna turn them off now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Don't report me, please.
Okay, bye.
Force Punk.
Frostpunk combines the best elements of survival, city building, and 4X games into one of the more captivating strategy games in a while. Thanks to stellar presentation and storytelling, Frostpunk never feels like a burden to play despite its tough difficulty. Frostpunk begins with a compelling and timely backstory in which climate change devastates humanity in the late 1800s. Those left must seek out the few remaining resources as they attempt to carve out the last city on Earth from the ice. It's not a hopeful tale, but one that effectively communicates the challenges that lie ahead. This story is told through outstanding animations that help set Frostpunk's stark tone. The overall aesthetic is reminiscent of a Victorian Game of Thrones, complete with lots of gears and swirling snow. The graphics are bleakly beautiful. Workers forge paths in the snow as they walk, the sunrise splashes across the city, and fires illuminate the buildings around them. Menus are typically clear, though certain functions and iconography are a bit unintuitive at first. It's in the gameplay, though, that Frostpunk shines, mixing up bits from various familiar strategy and city-building games into something like an inverse Tropico. Rather than selfishly building power over a tropical paradise, you make decisions for all that remains of humanity. As the leader of this last city, you'll direct the workforce to gather supplies to keep the community going. Your workers will trudge through the snow, bringing coal, steel, and wood back to the city's center. It's a complex enough system, but Frostpunk admirably limits the number of resources you have to keep track of to around 5, as there is enough to track without worrying about an overabundance of different types of goods. Managing the finite number of workers is key to keeping the city going. There will never be as many of them as you'll want or need. Also making this task difficult is a novel day and night cycle. Citizens only work during the relatively warm daylight shift. Of course, these workers are humans with needs, so the resources they gather will be used to build structures to keep them alive. Like resource collection, the city building gameplay is tightly focused. In addition to managing a workforce, rationing a dwindling supply, and constructing buildings, Frostpunk demands political action too. As the leader of the city, you'll be forced to make some hard decisions. Many of these decisions come through the crafting of the Book of Laws, a tree of edicts that shape the face of your society. These choices are often fascinating and have long-lasting consequences. Will you stretch food supplies by making bad-tasting soup? Will children be forced to work? What to do with the gravely ill and the bodies of the dead? Making laws is one thing, responding to personal requests is another. Throughout a game, these emotion-heavy events make you face the consequences of earlier decisions, and that's how you're forced to evaluate survival on both a personal and humanitarian level. Hope and discontent serve as metrics to indicate how you are doing. These thought-provoking choices, layered on top of a solid management sim and city builder, make Frostpunk stand apart from other recent city games. However, what makes it work so well is its narrow scope. Everything, including the borders of the city, has a limit, meaning that no aspect of the gameplay overtakes the others. And despite all these varied elements and mechanics, it never becomes overwhelming. Sure, resources are tight and hope is fleeting, but the pace in which Frostpunk reveals each new aspect is ideal. There's always a new carrot to keep you hooked. Some of those include an exploration component, a moderately sized technology tree, and other short-term goals.
Devity Original Sin 2.
Go back to that.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Warm switch to do this.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Now I'll shock it and kill all of us. He exploded! Steer it on top. Yeah.
Wait, this guy's still alive. Wow! I guess that was a mercy killing, technically.
What'd you get? Oh my gosh! What?
Oh, the wolf died. Oh.
Oh. Dang it. Oh, dang it!
It lasts so long.
Your afro is lighting up a whole bunch of colors.
I know, I love it. Alright.
You're so ridiculous.
First time moving, too.
Should I ask him where the armor is so we can go grave rob his friend, or considering what we've done in the past, I think this is the correct choice.
Full set of hand-picked armor, eh? We've got to know its location.
Considering what we've or grave robbing.
He's gone to the Great Orc Star. You want the location for his grave? Now what use could you have for that, small bones? Keep bothering about it, and I may have to.
Hey, keep him.
Yeah, I'm
just don't let him turn around.
Yeah. Fancy stones.
Elegant robe. Static cloud arrow.
Look at you tiptoeing away.
Papers, please.
Top of the morning,
here, ladies. My name is Jacksepticeye, and welcome to Papers, Please. Next, please. Move it along. Hello, little lady. Look at your little head. Your weight is different. Did you take a poop before you got here? We're gonna have a denied, and we're gonna have a reason, and we're gonna say get the fuck out of my line. Bye-bye. I can do all this shit now. Matching, matching, matching. Oh, numbers matching. So good, feels good. I fought in Kolechia for 5 years. If you think this is bad in Arstotzka, it is 10 times worse than Kolechia. Do not blame them for coming here. Anyways, you're doing well. Keep it up. Thanks, bro. Bro fist. He bro fisted me before he left. You couldn't see it because it's all pixelated. Everybody go home. I have to go back to my wife and kids. Everybody gets medicine. Everybody gets heat and food. Oh, it's like fucking Christmas up in here. Oh, God. Good morning, Inspector. I just have a few questions for you. Okay. I'm scared. Have you seen anything like this? Ah! Fuck! No! No! Detained! Hello, little potato man. Are you the one that always causes trouble? You have like fake tickets, don't you? See, he's like, I want to get in, but he doesn't even have any fucking documents. Whoa! What happened? No! Get back! He tried to jump the border. You can't do that. You have to go through the checkpoint. Dude! No! He got shot. No! Potato bro. You were always my favorite.
Santa. I believe I said that right. Sorry.
So this game Soma came out a couple days ago. I was gonna make a video of it at that time, but then again, Dix happened. And you know, Dix sort of pulled me away from it the only way Dix could. Only this could really pull me away from this. You know, I need one of these to stop me from playing one of those. If you know what I'm saying. I'm saying I love Dick. Let's just start. Somebody calls me in the middle of fucking what time is it anyways? You can't just call me on my cell phone at 9:30 in the morning. Okay. I was out hiking. I got stuck under a log. I'm gonna 2% of my battery power left. That was supposed to go to voicemail. So I'm supposed to be finding some radioactive tracer fluid right now, but I can't be asked. Like, it's fucking nowhere. So we're just gonna ignore it and, like, you know, just assume it won't matter. Oh yeah. Before I go, I forgot. I gotta grab my anti-spook gear. Ah, here it is. Never leave house without it. Hey, is that a real fucking gun? What? Yeah. Can I touch it? What? Okay, we've made it to ground zero of Spookland here. We got called in for a brain scan. Everyone knows something's gonna go wrong, but here we are.
Where is everyone? Thought this place would be busy.
I did not come all this way to be punked.
This is the place, right? Must be.
In any normal situation, you would probably call the person you're supposed to be meeting, but fuck that, no! We can handle this on our own, man. I'm a resourceful science man. It's 2580. No, 2508. 2506, 2507, 2504, 256874. I'm just gonna steal it from his computer. It was 2501. My attention span was longer than 10 seconds. I would have looked like the greatest badass a couple seconds ago, but I blew it.
Dr. Munchie?
Well, it's just Mr. Munchie, but I'm working on it.
Okay, I'm feeling spooked.
Actually, you're helping me right now.
You tell me I'm gonna let this untrained doctor guy just strap shit to my brain? I'm not getting in that fucking chair. Like, absolutely nothing could be done to get me in that fucking chair. You understand me? Field tested stat track origami. I could sell this thing for like. Wait, are you fucking kidding me? I'm just gonna go. I'm not gonna be here for this. I feel uncomfortable being next to this thing. I feel like I'm the bad guy right now. You know, like look at this thing. Even at this speed, it's like it can't catch me. It can't hurt me. Ah! Come on. Let Papa Mato show you a thing or two, you son of a bitch. What have we learned today? What have we learned today? Have we learned not to fuck with me? Have we learned that yet? Do you feel spooked? You should feel more spooked, robot. You know what, Carl? I'm gonna name you Carl, okay? I think that you and I can come to an understanding.
Staff
for field technicians.
Only robots, crazy ones. Except for one. I think he was in pain. I'm not sure what to do.
Think he was in pain? Dude! We just sent that guy through 1,000 hells and it was great!
Whoa! What's going on?
Oh, the world's ending.
Come to Lambda.
How do I get there?
I'm checking right now. Calm down. I got this. Looks like we're gonna need to go down to Africa. Oh shit! Did she actually tell me what? What do we have here? A filthy loiterer. You made a grave mistake sitting here, bitch. You know what? Let's talk to her. Let's figure out why she's here.
They won't let me die. Nothing is allowed to die.
Carl was telling me the same thing. She's dead. I killed her. Oh, fuck. What? Don't you oh fuck me? You knew exactly what.
Undertale.
Listen and hear a song. The birds are singing. Sit down a while and watch the fly.
Cuphead.
Mr. Elder Kettle, sir? Cuphead bet our souls to Satan, and now he's going to kill us before midnight unless we collect the contracts of everyone else who owes him their souls. Do you have any advice?
Oh, you little rascals, then you'll want to use this. It'll grant you magic powers. You know, in order to kill demons.
Hey, Elder Kettle, how come you know so much about the dark arts and fighting off demons?
What? Oh, it's all a part of growing up, I guess. Now run along now. This old kettle needs some alone time.
Jeepers! These magic powers sure are nifty, but I don't think I could ever shoot anybody with it. What about you, Cuphead? Golly!
Mr. Lucifer, them boys are on their way to the casino as we speak. What? No way. It hasn't even been an hour. Well, it took them roughly around 2 minutes to defeat each boss. How's that even possible? None of those guys are a walk in the park. I made sure of it. It's almost as if they have some way of knowing and predicting each attack pattern. Almost like they can turn back time and retry every fight. That's just not fair. They're here. Let me take care of them for you. Now don't you get out of that chair. You sit right here. Welcome back, boys, to the casino. I would be fighting you today, but I don't feel like getting my hands dirty. So you can roll this dice and fight a legion of my underlings.
Well, we already beat your underlings, Mr. Kane Dice, sir.
Not my babies. Well then, I guess you'll have to fight the scariest foe of them all. Me. Oh lordy, that ain't good. So my guests have finally come back to me. You better have my contracts or your souls are mine.
Well, actually, we've already come back to fight you 28 times, and that's the 28th time you've said that.
You did? Well, you can try 1,000 times, but your souls are still mine.
You said that 28 times, too.
So my guests have finally come back to me.
No, Cuphead! Don't give him those contracts!
Yes, Cuphead! Give me those contracts! Those contain the souls of everyone you defeated. Are you insane? Nuts.
Golly, Cuphead! You obliterated him! Now we can go back to living peacefully with Elder Kettle without a worry in the world. Cuphead? Well, Cuphead and his slave Mugman, they took over the land. With everyone bowing down to them, they had the world in their hand.
Indie games are lower quality games and do nothing but dilute the gaming marketplace with subpar content. Quote from Leg Spider 2 years ago. I think the indie gaming movement is bad for gaming consumers. While it has a benefit of exposing more people to the development process, increasing the number and experience of potential industry talent, the overall experience for the average consumer declines due to the vast amount of shovelware that now exists on all platforms. Look at any online marketplace, Steam, PSN, Xbox Marketplace, and Wii U and 3DS. 3DS. When looking through an unfiltered catalog, there is high radio of indie games to quality development titles. It reminds me of the garbage shovelware that was prevalent at the video game crash of the early 80s, while as shortly after when the original Wii was released. Really? End quote. Before any blew up like it is now, console and PC always had shovelware and garbage ass games. Even though there is a lot of garbage indie games, right, beside garbage AAA games, but the thing is, those games have the right to live. Whether you call it art or not. There are some people that believe the summertime is a really slow month for video games, but refuse to check out the indie market for its crown jewels. The only time that I believe the marketplace needs to kill off any games in alpha that has been stuck in alpha for years that full of bugs and people can't even get their money back. Shit, I can show how AAA games right now fuck up the gaming market.
2017 has to be one of the most interesting years for the video game industry. It has been the year of both the extraordinary and the crap AAA game, sprinkled with the mid-tier surprise and the magical indie hit. Resident Evil 7 has scared us, big budget games have wowed us, little budget gems have impressed, and epic open world adventures seen aplenty. There have been new spins on classic pastimes, risky ventures into new competitive games, and even cooperation between unlikely organizations. The year started off on the wrong foot with two of the most controversial games, For Honor and Mass Effect Andromeda. It was clear that For Honor was doomed from the start. Our not-so-favorite Ubisoft game was stuffed with terrible netcode, bad matchmaking, class balance issues, and a shallow gameplay loop. It was a bad fighting game, masquerading as a revolutionary action game. Players have all but forgotten about For Honor. Mass Effect Andromeda came out a month later, and the uproar was even more lit. The unpolished story was unworthy of the franchise, which was the first of many crimes. It came with blasé characters, horrible animations, and a shallow sense of exploration. These things crippled its reception. Even worse, it was clear that EA knew we wouldn't be welcoming the game with open arms. They essentially executed Mission Carrot on a stick, bundling Andromeda in Origin Access and restricting reviews mere hours before launch. Very effective in covering up what the game was truly like. Mass Effect Andromeda was consumer exploitation at its finest, EA's first large-scale consumer dupe of the year, but not to be the last. But before those would happen, the good stuff started pouring in. Games like Hollow Knight, Nier, Dead Cells, Pyre, Sonic Mania, Divinity 2, Cuphead, and A Hat in Time would lead the charge as the most amazing games this year. Unfortunately, this goodness has more or less been washed away by year's end. What was once a fantastic year has turned into the AAA crash, a collection of the dirtiest stories of the year. It has been the year of the money catch, the drive-by, and the all-you-can-eat consumer buffet. With publishers prodding their games with their greedy pitchforks and transforming them from innocent experiences into much more complicated services, it seems like the joy has been ripped out of gaming in 2017. In a year overflowing with great games, it just sucks to go out on a low point due to all of this money scuffling. But there are more worrisome trends that need to be highlighted. So eager to profiteer, AAA gaming got sidelined and ended up crashing in 2017. Looking back, I have come to a bitter conclusion. The best games of the year may have already been forgotten. It would have been very difficult to make that statement in 2010 with Red Dead, Mass Effect 2, and Super Mario Galaxy up in the running. Or in 2013 with GTA 5 and The Last of Us. And don't forget about Skyrim in 2011 and Uncharted 2 in 2009. These were giants of games, Every single one was a big budget AAA game swimming in quality. These were titles that swung for the fences and left nothing on the table. They were filled to the brim with potential, and they delivered. The best graphics, the best gameplay, and the best storytelling, they had it all. Adventure permeated many, excitement in others, or pure fun. GTA 4 building on top of prior successes, Metal Gear Solid 4 doing the same, Portal 2 innovating and delivering an experience like no other, KOTOR 2 bringing honor to Star Wars, unlike Battlefront 2. No other games came close to matching their brilliance. There were indeed some controversies every single year, but nothing that would tarnish those memories. But in 2017, many have. One of those games is going to be EA. At this rate, I think it's safe to say EA is a game because it's clearly what they've been playing these days. Like a dirty napkin, EA continues to make a mess and wipe itself clean afterwards. At least they try to. In response to our critiques, EA tried to get the ball rolling with Battlefront 2 post-launch, to tidy up and cover up its progression issues that were clearly tied to their attempts at bankrupting people, and not just with our money. The best video games exchange effort for reward. RPGs enhance their stories, develop characters, and give you fat loot. Puzzle games like Portal 2 make you feel smart for being smart. And shooting games give you fun stuff to play with once you spend enough time excelling in the game. One of EA's most secret weapons is that their games are designed to tamper with this process. Battlefront 2's progression system was atrocious in the beta, horrible when it launched, and bad weeks later. Amidst several updates and much public scrutiny, it is clear that Andrew Wilson does not want to surrender paid loot boxes as much as the news would prove otherwise. EA is doing everything in their power to hide behind closed doors and slowly trickle down fixes to a system that far and away needs to be eradicated. At no point are paid power items and laborious grind systems good for games, our enjoyment, or for us engaging in meaningful progression. It is clearly there as a trap and to prolong the time spent in a game to acquire and play with what we want. But Battlefront 2 wasn't the only game that showcased its predatory stance on consumerism. Shadow of War, Forza 7, the new Need for Speed, NBA 2K18, and others would all integrate some form of pay-to-win mechanic into their games. These things not only lessen the enjoyment that you get from each game, but more importantly, they impact the industry in a bad way. Call me crazy, but I'd prefer to have an industry not flooded with fighting and controversy, or forcing people to spend precious time making charts and spreadsheets like these to discover how bad some of these systems truly are. Progression in Battlefront 2 was so cryptic and so complicated that someone actually had to make this for people to understand what they were truly getting into. This is ridiculous. People have to enter this Inspector Gadget mode because these things aren't communicated at all to consumers, nor do game makers actually have to disclose the way these systems are designed, and that's a big problem. It's entirely possible that microtransaction systems in games are formulated to take advantage of gambling tendencies, to be as addictive as a slot machine. It's technology being built for the future, and companies are fighting to control it. A few months ago, Activision submitted a patent on an engine design that could actually profile you, predict what you want so badly, and tamper with your experience to get you to pay for it instead of play for it. It's unholy digital manipulation. These events, just like the XP controversy of Destiny 2 or the microtransactions in UFC 3, create distrust. Even if they've been the norm in prior games like UFC, it doesn't really matter. They turn consumer against creator, when in fact, we should be on the same side. We should be fighting together against the creation of shitty games, not against the games that should be succeeding in the first place. A long time ago, I think a lot of us looked up to game makers, especially in a AAA market. We expected great games and we got them. They were fair and innovative. At least it seemed like that way. Today, I'm not so sure we can say the same thing. Somewhere along the lines, something went wrong. The big AAA companies have decided that delivering honest, good games is no longer the top priority. They are not competing with the best game makers out there to make the better product. They aren't competing with themselves to revolutionize the industry. They are competing with what is right for us. They aren't challenging themselves to revolutionize the industry and better serve us. They are consuming us and reaping the profits. AAA game development has crash landed in 2017 like an airplane going Mayday, and like a fat suckling pig, they've gorged themselves on us. They have cast a big shadow over the other successes of the year. The small games that are in need of that spotlight. Hollow Knight, Little Nightmares, What Remains of Edith Finch, Pyre, or A Hat in Time, just to name a few. But that sour aftertaste of these AAA games is also penetrating the great AAA games of the year, the Mario Odysseys, the Breath of the Wild, and the Horizon Zero Dawns. It's my hope that next year the great games of the year won't get drowned out by negative stories, most all surfacing from the companies we should be looking up to rather than down on.
Okay, now on to my next subject. Twin Mirror gives off Heavy Rain vibes in in the developer diary. What is quite new in Twin Mirror compared to other projects is the investigation aspect that is really at the heart of the gameplay, says the developer. Above, you will discover the hidden reality and be able to in a very interesting way, a very surprising way, keep moving through the beautiful story of Twin Mirror. The game does look really good since this isn't being held back by Sony like Heavy Rain. I hope this game is very successful. I've never beaten Heavy Rain, but I'm not going to talk shit about it either.
No, my bed don't weigh the same.
This is it. This is where it all ended. I wonder how much things have changed.
Take my clothes and wash my name.
It's only been a year.
Sam, I'm not trying to hurt you.
It feels like a lifetime.
Does the well go down,
I wish I'd come back under better circumstances. What are you doing back in Basswood, Sam?
Sir? Hello?
My head. What happened last night? Oh shit! All that blood. And that's definitely my shirt from last night. What is this?
I felt around for something real.
Did I black out or what?
There's a ray in this thing.
I have to figure out what happened. Okay, wake up. Focus. Remember.
Would like to quote Crud, KRUD, from 4 days ago. The emotional journey that we will take players on is based entirely on their choices. Developers, please stop saying this. You're writing player expectation checks that your product can't cash. Phrases like based entirely on or tailored to conquers very specific ideas that, generally speaking, adventure games, which I'm assuming this is, can't really deliver on. I get what you're going for, but they need a different way to frame it. Say you decided how your characters reacts to situations, or the story details may vary depending on your dialogue, or something unless they is really going to pull this off and make a game based entirely on player's choice. I guess we'll see. If anyone can do it, it might be them. CD Projekt Red CEO hints a potential return of the Witcher series. Oh snap, that sounds pretty good. Quote, the first 3 Witchers were by definition a trilogy. So we simply could not name the next game The Witcher 4. This does not mean, of course, that we will leave the world of The Witcher created by us for over a dozen years. The Witcher is one of 2 franchises on which to build in the future activities of the company. Today, unfortunately, I cannot reveal anything more. End quote.
go. Alright, it's Mr. Sharpshooter, Mr. One Pop. Drop on the block, stock and barrel, aiming red dots at your chest. I'm the best. Deathstroke is a mess with it. Ask about Floyd, they'll tell you that he the best with it. Looking right at your keen eye on Slade. And from what I can gather, you ain't never been paid like me. DC, Gotham City's OG. I'm rapping just like my weapons, the deadliest MC, bitch.
Deadliest MC? Well, I highly doubt it. Dismantle you into pieces, and I have no doubt about it. Limited precognitive, you don't have long to live. I can see your moves ahead of time, and it's repetitive. Deathstroke, I'm swinging it, I'll drop you like a habit. A tracking and hunting expert, and yes, you are the rabbit. My dual wheels katanas will have you separated. I'm watching your limbs fly, describe the feeling, it's elated.
Okay, Suicide Squad mob, watch your Deathstroke sob. Ice him in cold blood and wrap him up like a wonton. You couldn't drop teams, wanna bet I can. The only thing you terminate's my attention span. Look, Lawton's in the building, so try to get an eyeful. Couple of wrist shots and finish you with the rifle. They all running for cover and praying up on their Bibles. Mr. Wilson surrenders his only chance of survival.
We'll never get a clean shot.
I really hope that they make another Witcher game. There's so many things they can do for the next game, or they can keep improving on Witcher 3 with their own mods and DLCs and patches. And I have some videos to show you. A new segment I will be having on my channel is the Jackals Radio, which I hope that y'all enjoy. Take a set to listen to some tracks. If not, you can just skip on to when the music's over. Not forcing you.
Let's go on 416th straight. I'm a fantasy assassin, reality enforcer, lifetime a contend, love maker supporter. This $1 billion industry, but not professional or corporate. Still the kind that define most prevalent reeks of torture. If you knew of a girl that been raped, would you report it? Does it make it less more? What's some soundbar recorded that don't seem right? But we do not seem that bothered when fathers look performers the same age as the daughters. When the younger it is hotter, that excuse makes me nauseous. Say you wear the most women are also strippers, the streetwalkers, some slave to pimps, others cocaine. The reality doesn't fit a little box cause of so much pain. Are you ashamed? Good, cause you should be. Imagine your brain and then imagine what it could be. Well, we're not way down my fantasies, rather rooted in reality. Oh, you wanna talk reality? Alright, let's talk reality. Not only just fake sex, it's also unsafe sex. Replaced with STD, especially when that dude is laced with germs and diseases, roaming free without a latex. Picture that the next time in the pussy from an anus, back into some anal. Still drunk cause it's so painful. Remember all of that as you ejaculate to facial. But there's still chick on chick, wrong and pretend lesbians were sick of it. The second that they walked on that fucking set to find another woman compete for a tan from a sign that doesn't shine. It's in the eye, she doesn't like me. This director ain't no Spike Lee. Go from eminent and hatred, double thinking that we like it, but there's other girls doing with other girls, and gosh, shit, this a job. So the cocktail of affection, man, the coochie smelling raw. And the first girl might refuse, but there's no pay if she leave. And that first girl has to eat, so rancid pussy she must eat and feast with a smile for the guy that's sending now. Enough to believe these are girls gone wild. Taste a pedophile at we just turned 18, so you can fantasize about the young girl you can fuck legally. She probably light skinned and petite, ethnic and thick. Now but the opposite, which makes y'all a fucking racist. What with 50 Shades of Grey and girls like Sasha Grey who swear there's power and submission, which of course is quite deranged. As if there's love and hate, a free will finding fate. Man, this shit is so heavy that I'm not eating what's on my plate, and I don't think that y'all should either. This is bare minimum efforts. We were born to be achievers, especially when we're seeing the way these things are creeping off of our screens and how we use our speech. Strip humanity from every single girl, simultaneously ourselves till animals rule the world. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, how many for these videos? Logging hours late at night, what is this dedication giving you? Not the place of the fact, an image cause you to believe that what you are seeing is real, even if our evidence proves it's not. So we should stop such illusional treachery. Our mother, sister, wives are the ones who are catching the straight bullets of our depravity. These bullets say you're ravaging every man, woman, and child. This inimitable tragedy. so next time you start to flick it on Netflix, start clicking. Remember the stand of the pain that you were causing all these women, from the performers who have slipped into these worlds full of addictions. But if you do not care about them for yourself, remember that it's fiction. No girl who hasn't been brainwashed actually wants some dude to finish on the face and leave a disgrace that is straight up inconsistent with real life. She wouldn't fuck you, actually maybe she would, but only cause she hates herself that much. Does that feel good?
You're in the presence of the Alpha Omega. Brought my disciples through. They can give you the good news after they finish striking you. Lightning bolts ain't a damn thing. Dishing them out like Zeus every time we open our mouths. Heaven is shouting at you. Gotta kick it up in that top spot, looking like that's my spot. Shot up with a glow that makes eyes drop. Shame no slack, it's the game. Looking backwards, no attention. Slur where it's ain't fuel, we don't burn. I'm diesel. Going up against that should be your lead. With your eyes breaking his brakes. We don't agree, but I'm looking like a pharaoh with that halo. Getting foot wings and the fire in my eyes. No, that's lethal. Don't fly too close to this tongue that'll tell you we won't burn, brother, motherfucker, we don't feel you. Better if you just kneel to the golden cathedral of these you. Best case scenario, when that should believe you. You don't wanna know the damage I do for my people.
With one line. Flow like Uzi, so divine. Pop the smash, keep one time. Let lyrical smash, crack the lyrical with spine. Sensation phone with like fine wine. Top feeding rain, stay on my grind. Head spin, no, you can't rewind. Sit over, way back down clouds. Hold still, control your mouths. Got lyricism inbound. I make this work around. I reign supreme, feature need. I dominate all your dreams. Make up your reality, but this ain't make believe.
Don't cap with my dome, but I'll let my locks rock. Locked up the root and tip. Keep conditions in the red box. My third eye protrudes. Like how Shivas do, take on the sins of the world. Almost like Jesus do. God amongst men. That's believable, achievable. The inconceivable can be conceived. That's what you need to know. I'm spinning spells with this spell and spin this spell with me. Stimulate my people. Cerebellums connect symbols that were meant to be. Freaking nature when I want it, I get it. Laser focus bumping to me in this zone, reminiscing of being tasered. Your precognition be off by a smidgen. Wishing you can Nostradamus. My holy book is memorized. Burned evidences. I gotta make the language do what I want. So if I lay the lyrics down like a bunch, you're guaranteed to lose your lunch. The law of least effort. I never had the time to crunch. Always on some next shit. Evil every fucking stunt. Saying fuck a major key, cause all the doors were open for me already. Well, wishes and curse slingers, all the same. Both trying to force an energy upon me, you're the same. I got a mission and vision and persistence, and I'm itching to spark competition, exterminating all you lanes. Cause in the end, when the sparks are flying and birds dropping hell heat, ripping the skin off your body, truth prevails. Know enough about yourself to look deep within and blast forth with the blast that'll kick illusions ass and begging you. Sick of seeing complacence obvious through these optics, complaining about the hard times when there's unlimited options. We want to do it, I've been hungry for a long time. Hard times start, be damned if I'm waiting in line. I'm cutting everything from a long line. I'm knocking tracks down with curry skill. My buzzer beat vicious than a motherfucker. Under pressure, I add more and prosper, and continue spreading gospel. Couple hidden apostles, it's all good. The energy comes back like tenfold. While making silent billfuls, expanding that foundation I continue to build on. Any opposition, I promise I will engulf your soul. I will do it alone. I will make it known. I will rub it in like salt into your broken skin. I'm going in. Freak feed, eating like I never ate a meal in my life. I haven't, now I'm going overboard with it, risking my life. All for the glory and everlasting life. The plague.
You know who it is, the one who always has a plan, the one who's lighting up the night, the one and only Batman. I hate to take a rookie down, but seems that that's the task, and I see all the fear behind your little cat mask. I've taken on Clayface, Superman, Mr. Freeze, so I could take a little royal punk down with ease. I will. It's Gotham City's undeclared ruler and protector. Everything this chump does, the Bat does better.
All the way from Wakanda,
I've come to beat you down. For that bat, I don't need a suit or a crown. Defeated many champions of my Wakandan thrive. In order for me to take my place and protect my people's lives, a mantle passed down generation to generation. The chief of the Panthers, the head of a nation. In every area, Wayne and the Bat ranked under me. You can't even run a business. I rule a whole town.
Look, you're a Silver Age newbie, I'm a Golden Age bad boy. Shut up, throw down your weapons, and maybe I'll make you bad boy. The Batmobile is rolling through and hunting for T'Challa. I've calculated your chances, so Panther, why even bother? It's the Dark Knight, flying high above any Panther league. Use every tool at my disposal, put this kitty cat to sleep. The Bat and the Panther are quite similar, actually, but I don't need an herb, I'm just dope naturally.
I've picked up on the scent of a bat now in fear. If you fight with all you've got, that's the Panther's second gear. The Panther's on the prowl now, deprive you of your weapons, chase you into the darkness east, and then I'll go for second. T'Challa never freeze, unbreakable like vibranium. Leap up on my prey in silence, then proceed to smash his cranium. Blow you down to nothing, Black Panther is supreme. Stand over your corpse, chant long live the king.
Is Overkill The Walking Dead doomed? Unfortunately, there's another reason why Overkill's The Walking Dead is in hot water this year. While we only in April, this fall is already going to be stacked. In September, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Spyro Reunited trilogies, Spider-Man, and Dragon Quest XI, the later PS4 exclusive, will hit store shelves. I think it's safe to assume that Microsoft will release the next Forza Horizon that month as well. In October, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and Red Dead Redemption, two of the biggest games of the year, will be released. While we don't know what will be launched in November, it's worth noting the next Battlefield and possibly Crackdown 3 will also be launching in the fall. Well, games not launching near Red Dead Redemption 2, I wonder if there's a place for Overkill's The Walking Dead. Here's a YouTube.
During Tuesday's episode of Inside Xbox, the Overkill team revealed a new trailer for the studio's upcoming Walking Dead video game. The trailer showcased a new character named Maya. While the CG trailer was intriguing and set a tone for the universe, I find myself wondering why haven't we seen any gameplay at all. The game was originally announced in 2014 and scheduled to release in 2016, and then later delayed all the way until 2018. Overkill's The Walking Dead has pretty much remained a mystery ever since it was first revealed. The newly released trailer piqued my interest, but after it ended, there was no gameplay, and I was let down. The CG trailers don't really get me excited, and what I mean is, they don't indicate how the game will actually end up. Let's not forget the stellar Dead Island reveal trailer. It remains one of the best trailers I've ever seen, and once the game launched, it looked nothing like the studio initially presented the game. My guard is up for Overkill's The Walking Dead. The studio has an excellent track record. The Payday series specifically is a masterful co-op experience. The studio clearly understands its stealth and shooting mechanics, two things that would do wonderfully in the Walking Dead universe. The reason why we need to see gameplay is because at this point, the CG trailers just aren't doing it for most people. Years ago, The Walking Dead was quite possibly the most popular IP in the entertainment industry. The television show constantly broke records. Telltale Games took some chances and revolutionized the episodic format with their Walking Dead series, and then there's the comic series, which is doing wonderful for a comic book series, and AMC even created a spin-off show, Fear the Walking Dead, that's doing well ratings-wise. While things seem to be going great for anything related to The Walking Dead, recent seasons of the show are painting a different picture. At the height of its popularity, the mid-season premiere of Season 4 brought in 15.8 million viewers. 4 years later, the recent episode of the show only brought in 6.2 million, more than a 50% drop since 2014. Seasons 4 and 5 were the peak viewership of the show, but despite consistently dropping ratings, the IP continues to evolve. Will Overkill's The Walking Dead win over the video game community? Out of all the games released involving the franchise, The Escapist's The Walking Dead and Telltale's take on the franchise were the only success stories, in terms of quality that is. 2013's The Walking Dead Survival Instinct was abysmal, and the mobile games are generic. There hasn't been a genuinely entertaining action game in the Walking Dead universe, and now I think Overkill has missed its opportunity. When the game was originally announced in 2014, the franchise was thriving, and obviously no one expected the popularity to drop drop so drastically as it did. With the original launch window, Overkill would have released the game whenever the ratings were doing great. Because of the delay, the game is releasing when people are becoming sour on the IP. The video game, television, and film industries have all been oversaturated with zombies, and I'm not sure who really cares about this game at the moment. Unfortunately, there's another reason why Overkill's The Walking Dead is in hot water this year. While we're only in April, this fall is already going to be stacked. In September, there's Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Spyro the Reignited Trilogy, Spider-Man, Dragon Quest XI. I'm sure we'll have heard something about the next Forza Horizon by then, not to mention in October, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and the behemoth that is Red Dead Redemption 2. While I don't know what will be launching in November, it's worth noting that the next Battlefield is possibly on the horizon, as well as Crackdown 3, which is most likely launching late this year. I'm just not really sure if there's a place to fit Overkill's The Walking Dead without it doing poorly when it launches. This year has some heavy hitters, and there's a lot of people who don't buy every game that comes out. Most consumers pick and choose and only pick up a handful of titles a year. With so many highly anticipated AAA experiences, Overkill's The Walking Dead just doesn't really fit in. The game is a cooperative online shooter similar to Left 4 Dead, so it requires constant communication with teammates. If there's one thing that Sea of Thieves and most games with multiplayer components over the past years have taught us, is that people don't really like to talk together, especially with strangers, so I can see Overkill's The Walking Dead struggling to survive. But the details are still scarce regarding the game. Are you personally excited for the title? Do you think you'll pick it up at launch? I'm personally interested to play it, the game is right up my alley, but the lack of details, gameplay videos, and release date have me really concerned with The Walking Dead. It's been in development for 4 years and it almost feels like the game doesn't exist yet. The latest trailer said that it would launch in fall 2018, but I think it would benefit from one more delay just to steer it clear from the heavy
be as happy as was or hyped for this game as I was back in 2014 for this game as I was now, but often than not, what you see in a beta is very likely what you will get in the final product. Sure, they may iron out bugs that may affect gameplay, but considering how long they've been working on this, I highly doubt there are going to be any just dramatic visuals or gameplay changes in the next few months leading to the fucking release. I'm highly disappointed about the game. For years they showed nothing but CGI trailers. What kind of worried me back then, but when they finally showed gameplay, my hopes and dreams of having a really good Walking Dead game has been exploded with C4. As if they went to my dreams as I was asleep, put a C4 on that son of a bitch, and blew it straight to hell.
I can't believe that in 2018, crap like this can come out still. I'm talking, of course, about Overkill's The Walking Dead. Seriously, folks, if you haven't already, take a good long look at that gameplay that's out there. Looks like shit on the bottom of my shoe. You mean to tell me that it took them years and years and years to put this out? I mean, this is what they have to show for? After all of that development time? No wonder why they were so reluctant. After many fans were clamoring for gameplay after all of those CG trailers, no wonder why they were so reluctant to put gameplay out. Because they know it sucks so much ass. I mean, seriously, folks, this looks so rough around the edges. The graphics look like last generation. The animations are god-awful. And just everything else. It just looks like this is a game that should have came out last generation. And you know what reminds me of that one old Walking Dead game that came out on 360 and PS3? I think it was called The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. But even if you put those things aside, this game looks like it brings nothing new to the table. And it looks like it's simply just a payday mod set in the Walking Dead universe. And they're asking for $60. Oh wait, there's also that special deluxe edition for $80. Can you imagine spending $80 on this? You'd have to be out of your fucking gourd. You know, I really do feel sorry for the Walking Dead fans out there. We really haven't gotten a great freaking Walking Dead game that really screams quality. And again, you take a look at this gameplay here, and it's anything but quality. Very reminiscent of The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. And that, folks, is not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I just don't understand how they could just let this one kind of slip through the cracks. You know, if I were Overkill at this point, what I would do, since I know my game just sucks so much ass, I wouldn't obviously publicly say that, but what I would do if I were Overkill is I would fast track the release to October. Release it in October, that way when the game bombs, which it will do, because it doesn't look good by any stretch of the imagination, it will sell poorly despite having the Walking Dead name on it, I would release it in October. That way they have an excuse as to why it bombed. They can say, well, the sales were poor, not because of the quality of the game, but because it released in a crowded month. You know, October, Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out, Call of Duty, Battlefield, many other games. If they put it out in October, they at least have an excuse. But in November, which is when the game's coming out, I believe, they don't have an excuse. They're going to have to own up on their shit. But you think they're going to do that? They don't care. All they care about is this. They don't care about putting out a quality product, because all they care about is the bends. They just want you to buy and buy and buy and buy and buy. They don't give a shit about quality or anything. Quality's not in their fucking head. They just want to sit there and go, you know, they can really take this thing and they can shove it where the sun don't shine, which is right up their ass. Stay far, far away from this thing. And I know what some people are going to say. Some people are going to sit there and say, well, Michael, you know, maybe you should stop being so judgmental. Maybe you should give them more time. Because, you know, Michael, we're still, 5 or so months away from the release? Yeah, you know what? I should give them more time. After many years, this is what they have to show for. After years. So what do you think they're going to be able to do in just 5 or so months? I'll tell you, absolutely nothing. Folks, what you see is what you get, and Overkill's The Walking Dead is absolutely disgusting. Stay far, far away from this piece of...
Should early access games be taken off the market? Steam and any other market must take greater ownership of early access. Early access is a blessing just like indie. We have gotten some really good early access games that's still being supported as we speak. However, it is fucked up that there is a huge issue with early access games where the devs have given up on the game, stopped supporting the game, and not using the money they've gotten from early access from their fan base to put it right back to said product. Steam is flooded with broken, unplayable garbage, which is the bad side of early access games. Steam needs to protect its users by deleting early access games that hasn't been supported, won't fix their game with game-breaking bugs, and those that has been sitting in the marketplace as an unfinished game for years. Steam should also give refunds to those users that's unable to play the game no more and which said they won't fix the problem. But for this to happen, we as consumers need to put our money where our mouths are and stop supporting early access games and keep writing Steam to fix their program, or we together as a community will no longer support said program. Valve issues warning about Steam early access games. An update on the Steam Early Access FAQ, Valve asked the question, when will these games release? Answered by saying players should be aware that some developers be unable to finish their games for whatever reason. Only buy an early access game if you're excited about playing it in current state, or Valve warned. As again, my belief, Steam do need to force devs to put a set date and make a full game. Send it out on the market for 5 years or more, and alpha doesn't look good. We as gamers need to stop supporting this idea. New games following a raft of high-profile cases in which players have complained about the poor quality of Steam early access games. In some cases, the lack of update post-launch. We can't filter out early access games on Steam. It's brilliant knowing that I have to crack that and check that a promoted game is actually finished before I buy it.
As many of you have probably noticed over the past few years, early access games have become a very common industry practice when it comes to PC gaming, and it's undoubtedly given birth to many great games that would have otherwise never seen the light of day. Something that can't really go unnoticed, however, is in 2016, it seems like the vast majority of games that are released on Steam are early access titles. So for those of you that have had your head buried under the sand for the past few years, what exactly is early access and why does it exist in the first place? Early access is basically a business model that really started to become popular from 2013 onwards when Steam introduced early access games to their store. The idea behind it is that gamers can get immediate access to games that are being developed and give feedback, working with developers to help shape the direction of the game. Upon the game's completion, you don't have to pay any extra for the finished version of the game. It's essentially a pre-purchase that gives you immediate access to a game that isn't yet finished. This system has benefited developers by providing them with additional funding to complete games that they'd otherwise not have the funds to complete, have the ability to connect and build a community for their game early on, and get important feedback and bug reports. Sounds like a win-win system, right? Well, if done properly it is, however that's rarely ever the case, and I'm starting to believe that in some cases early access can do more harm than good to a game if gone about the wrong way. First off, let's talk about the games that are considered early access failures and the impact they've had on the gaming community's view of early access as a whole. The War Z. This was an early access game before early access was a big thing. It was horribly incomplete, and the devs banned anyone who posted negative reviews for the game. Eventually it was renamed from The War Z to Infestation Survivor Stories to try and detach itself from the hate it was getting, and trick more people into buying it. The game has since been abandoned, and Steam eventually stepped in and refunded everyone. Space Base DF9. This was another early access cash grab where the devs basically gave out the source code for fans to finish the game, despite having a ton of missing features and promising continued support. All the staff working on the game left, and it has since been abandoned. Other examples of early access games where the devs just took the cash and ran consist of The Stomping Land, Earth Year 2066, Towns, The Dead Linger, Starforge, and Wreckfest. Due to there being so many early access rip-offs, the gaming community as a whole are a lot more cautious when it comes to investing into these games than they would be otherwise, and due to the fact you can't refund games on Steam after you've got 2 hours or more playtime, it can be seen as a big risk, and if the game does tank, then you've basically paid full price for an unfinished game, which certainly leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. Another thing that doesn't help community perception of early access games is the fact that some of the biggest, most popular and successful titles have been in early access for almost 3 years at this point. Titles such as 7 Days to Die, Rust, DayZ, and Project Zomboid are all titles that have received quite a substantial amount of success when it comes to units sold. DayZ, for example, was estimated to have sold over 3.5 million copies, which at $30 per copy equates to roughly $105 million, yet has been in alpha for 3 years, making ridiculously slow progress. Rust is another survival game that's estimated to have sold over 4.5 million copies, which at $18 per unit adds up to an estimated $81 million made, give or take a few million. Regardless of how good these games are or how close they are to being finished, from an outsider's point of view, it doesn't look great when the most successful early access games on Steam still aren't perceivably finished, despite having what you'd expect to be more than enough time to be completed with a crap ton of funding. I suppose the question to ask really is how long is too long for a game to be in early access, which is obviously a question that can't be answered with a set amount of time, as some games and genres require a lot more work and development than others. You also need to take into consideration the size of the team working on the game, the experience they have, and a few other variables. But to me personally, when you can see a well-funded early access game taking a long time to update the game and keep the community in the loop when it comes to the status of development, then that's when I start to suspect that the devs are taking the piss and potentially using the veil of early access as a way to nullify critique aimed at their game. Another thing you'll notice is the games that stay in early access for the longest time are either survival games games or MMOs, because these are typically genres that don't have a set state that you can point to and say, the game's finished. There's always stuff that can be added, and most of the time for those games to continue to be successful, they need to always be adding new content to keep the players interested, regardless of whether or not the game's in early access. For me personally, I think the point where you should really consider coming out of early access is when you're thinking about paid DLC or content sizable enough to be considered an expansion separate from the base game, which brings me on to Ark Survival Evolved. Ark Survival Evolved is a game that went into early access on Steam on the 2nd of June 2015. Personally, I've played Ark quite a bit, and it's certainly one of the best and most functional early access titles out there. However, when it comes to optimization, the game runs like arse. Recently, Ark released a paid DLC expansion for the game which pissed off a ton of people, resulting in a huge community backlash. You'd expect the developers to prioritize coming out of early access and optimizing the game before even thinking about releasing DLC, but that obviously wasn't the case here, and a lot of people who have supported the game felt betrayed because of that. It's becoming more and more obvious to me that people are getting sick of early access games, and therefore won't spend money on them. It's definitely something I've seen a lot more in the comments of my videos anyway. And who can blame them when there's been multiple cases of players getting screwed by it in the past, as well as this grey area for when certain early access game genres can be considered finished. Before we talk about the good stuff to come out of early access, let's just talk about the problems developers using the early access model today face. Oversaturation. With so many early access titles on Steam nowadays, the people who are actually happy to support early access games are spread much more thin, as well as there being much less people willing to support early access games now than what there used to be, due to the reasons I previously mentioned and the risks associated with it. As a game developer, you need to come up with a concept that's either incredibly ambitious or hasn't been done before, otherwise you're not going to get the support you need to finish the game, because why would people support your early access title over something that's slightly different and has released a finished product? This leads to the next issue. Promising too much and being too ambitious. Due to the need to stand out in order to get people to buy into your early access, developers often overpromise features that will make it into the game, thus resulting in a big community backlash when these things are missing, which obviously breeds more people unwilling to support early access games. Another thing I've noticed recently is the use of misleading trailers to get people on board. An example of this is an MMORPG that's recently dropped on Steam called Projekt Genome. It has one of the most epic trailers I've ever seen. Stunning graphics, perfect animations, an immersive alien world, space flight, mechs, pretty much anything you could possibly want in a sci-fi MMO. Yet in-game it has absolutely no resemblance to the trailer footage. Is it just me who thinks the trailer for a game should be representative of what it actually looks like, rather than an unrealistic vision? And all of this supposedly coming from a tiny Russian indie studio that haven't released anything yet and failed to raise 25k for a game on Kickstarter previously this year. A closer look at the trailer reveals the words in-engine footage rather than in-game footage for all of about 2 seconds in a shade of font that's easy to miss. I've played enough MMOs and seen many larger, well-funded projects fail to know that this indie dev has no hope of fulfilling what this game looks like in the trailer. It's nothing more than a marketing ploy to get people to buy into it. Too early for early access. Another common mistake I've seen a hell of a lot recently is games going into early access a lot earlier than they possibly should, to the point of being completely unplayable or not having anything substantial implemented to give people even the slightest idea of what the finished product will look like. One of the main benefits of early access is building a community early on and getting feedback, but how can a community grow around an unplayable game when there's nothing to get excited about or have fun with? Which leads me to my last point. Hype. Hype is an important thing when it comes to selling games, and it's more important than ever in getting people to invest into early access. When games go into early access way too early without giving people anything to get excited about, they're basically shooting themselves in the foot, as most people will refund that game, and they've essentially wasted a ton of free marketing in being a new Steam game. If the first few reviews show up as mostly negative, many people, including myself browsing the new Steam games tab, will scroll past that game without a second thought, and therefore it will eventually get buried and forgotten about. These are all huge reasons as to why I think think early access can actually be a bad thing for developers. It should only really be a thing they do at the latest stage their budget will allow, and if possible, they should avoid early access altogether, as they'll benefit from better reviews, which result in more sales and overall more hype, as people don't have to wait around to enjoy the game to its fullest. I suppose the only benefit early access can have in terms of marketing is people who have bought into it really early will become a lot more invested if they've given feedback and witnessed the game go from the early stages to a full release, thus resulting in a more dedicated player base. However, this can also be a bad thing if the game doesn't live up to expectations, as the backlash will be much worse. But just to remind us all why early access is a good thing, here's a few games that have successfully been finished and received critical acclaim. Kerbal Space Program, Prison Architect, Arma 3, Divinity Original Sin, Broforce, Starbound, Grim Dawn, Crypt of the Necrodancer, Don't Starve, This War of Mine, Darkest Dungeon, and Wasteland 2. A few examples of unreleased early access games that are making great progress so far consist of Subnautica, an underwater survival game that has themes to its updates to keep players interested. The devs also allow players to vote on updates. They've also integrated feedback forms directly into the game, as well as keeping players updated through their community Trello board, which shows exactly what's being worked on, what needs to be done, and what they've finished. Unknown Worlds are leading by example when it comes to player communication, and this is reflected when you look at the game's reviews. The Long Dark, this is another survival game that's making great progress and actually eavesdrops on player conversations to get feedback, as well as posting frequent updates. The Forest is a survival game that shows just how much a small focused team of only 4 developers can accomplish. The game's updated frequently, was a decently fun experience from the outset, and is made more approachable by a reasonable price for what it is. Factorio is a game that came to Steam earlier in 2016 after already being in development for 4 years prior to coming to early access. This game has since received overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam due to being a highly polished, fun and addictive game right from the outset, as well as frequent updates and good communication with players. After all the research I've done in making this video, it's obvious to me at this point that all the early access games that are considered successful and have received the best reception by the community all share a common theme. They listen to player feedback, they have a well thought out roadmap and keep players updated with the progress of development, they have a solid gameplay experience before even going into early access, they have frequent updates that are often substantial enough to keep players coming back, they have their priorities in order when it comes to managing their resources, and they don't overpromise on what the end product will look like rather than just selling people a vision or concept. Overall, I do think that early access as a whole is a positive thing. It really does give smaller studios a chance of making something that would otherwise be out of reach, whilst allowing players to help shape the future of that game. As with anything, there's always going to be scumbags that try to exploit the system for a quick buck, and I do think that Steam needs to have a separate refund policy when it comes to early access games to protect the consumer from abandonware. I suppose when investing into early access, it's also down to the people buying into it to make an informed decision by looking at things such as how often the game's updated, what exactly is being promised, and the player-developer communication. But I think one thing we can say for sure is that early access is clearly something that's not going away anytime soon, and for better or worse, I'll personally be supporting a few of these games that have already proven themselves to be committed to fulfilling their promises to their player base. So that's it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts on early access as a whole in the comments below, and for those of you that are new to the channel, my goal on YouTube is basically to help you discover quality new games and avoid the bad ones whilst not wasting a whole lot of your time in the process. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then please do consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, you take it easy, and I'll see you again really soon. Slowly but surely getting to the point where I'd rather put my dick in a microwave than continue to play this game.
Let me tell you a few things about myself. I'm Jim Sterling. I like the colour of money and the taste of dick. And one thing I don't like is the barren wasteland that Steam Early Access has become. We've talked about it before in the past, but as per usual, Jim Sterling is a fixer, a problem solver, a deliverer of solutions. So sit back and enjoy my rules, my 5 golden rules for fixing Steam Early Access literally forever. Rule 1, and you think it'd be obvious, have some actual fucking gameplay. Some developers seem to think early access gives them carte blanche to throw literally any old fucking shit up on Steam and sell it for money. Most recently, after Reset RPG appeared on early access with a retail price of $50, and it was literally nothing but a series of corridors with nothing to do in them. It wasn't even a demo. You could possibly call it a proof of concept demonstration if you were to be incredibly generous, but what I call it is a bad bloody joke. It's not the only game to pull that stunt either. Dragon is a game that didn't even have sound and just threw you into a tiny map where you, as the titular dragon, could do nothing but fly around and breathe fire. At nothing. No enemies, no quests, no reason for any of it. You were expected to pay money for what was a less interactive version of those old PlayStation 1 demos. You know, the one with the T-Rex or the whale, where you just move shit around for no real reason. It's not like these things are even tech demos, because they always use established engines and have no original tech to fucking demo. It's a simple rule. If your game is so unfinished it's literally not even a cocking game yet, then don't sell it. Rule 2. If your game is composed of nothing but unaltered Unity assets, fuck right off. Now, despite bad abusive Steam devs tarnishing its reputation, Unity is a fine engine, and I actually have nothing against people using the pre-made environmental and character assets that can be bought for it, but at least fucking tweak them, you know? If all you've done is take items and objects bought via Unity and place them haphazardly around a map that's also been bought via Unity, you're not even a fucking game developer. You're a glorified Lego builder. Worse, actually, at least Lego builders have some imagination. Games like Earth Year 2066 and Damnation City of Death have absolutely no shame. I mean, take some goddamn pride in your work. Those assets are supposed to be a foundation, a base, not the actual friggin' product. How can you feel like you created anything when literally nothing in your game is original? No original art, no original characters, just pre-packaged figures dropped into pre-packaged backgrounds. It's no wonder these games look so random and inconsistent. Real games have a cohesive art style because they have people with original cocking ideas working on them. A game that's literally just copy-pasta bollocks is an obvious mess, and I have to wonder what they even need the fucking money for. What are they developing? Nothing! Oh, and they always take the royalty-free Kevin MacLeod music too. Fucking hacks. Rule 3, look at the good early access games and understand that should be the standard, not a freak occurrence. In a world where games like Necro arrive on early access and are fucking wonderful to begin with, there's no excuse for shit like Zenfish Simulator. With early access there are reasonable expectations. Yes, there'll be bugs to iron out, there'll be placeholder assets that need replacing, a few features may still be missing. There's a difference, however, between a work in progress and a work that's barely fucking started. Early access should be for games like Necro, like Ziggurat, like Darkest Dungeon, games that are playable and provide plenty of content already worth investing some cash in, that are already of a high enough quality to provide their audience the confidence that this will be finished. Being in early access shouldn't mean you get to be shit and promise that maybe one day you'll be decent. You should already be good. If you're charging money for anything, you should already have a good product. Selling faith is for the priest, not the game developer. Too many alleged studios are using early access as a blank check to do whatever the fuck they like, and damn the consequences. It's not on. Rule 4. Understand that being in early access does not protect you from criticism. A fair number of both developers and gamers alike seem to labour under the impression that just because something's in early access, it's unfair to judge it in its current state. No, the moment you start charging money for something, you're offering a product for sale, and you damn right a product for sale deserves to be criticised. I don't care what the game might be, I care what it is now, what you're asking for money for now. There's a sad amount of positive Steam reviews for shit early access games, including that shameful After Reset, that are giving titles thumbs up based on pure speculation, positively rating it based on what they think it may look like one day. That's not helpful, not at all. More to the point, when you look at something like A New Reckoning, you don't have to be a clitting genius to see that it's never, not in a million years, going to be any good. It doesn't require a ton of intuition or insight to work that out. Too many times have I been reprimanded for slacking off an early access game because we allegedly can't judge something before it's finished. Sorry, but again, in a world with Necro and Darkest Dungeon, there's a pretty clear divide between early access games that are worth our time and money and ones that are clearly bloody not. Your game may not be finished, but we can see where it's going, we can judge it for what it is. Early access is not a deflector shield, and I've said it already, but I'll say it again, we shouldn't be in the business of selling faith. Give us something worth buying now, not a promise. And rule 5, you know what, fuck it, just no more first-person survival games with crafting and zombies, okay? It's done. It's played. Oh, by the sweet, rosy-ass cheeks of Satan's third-born son, is it done? Done? Done. Unless you have something significantly fresh and exciting to bring to that particular subgenre, and let's face facts, you fucking don't, then just don't bloody bother, because the dirty grey dumpster baby you're gonna squirt in our eye holes just ain't fucking worth it. You can only punch trees to make cabins while generic green-faced groaners lurch at you so many times before the sheer sickening idea of playing another one of these cookie-cutter exercises in mundanity makes you want to spurt vomit from your own anus out of a sheer perverse need for something unique to happen in your life. You'd think relying on such a stale and overdone formula would have at least established a quality baseline. It's not like you're spending your time coming up with original ideas, settings, art, or mechanics, but no, they're almost all fucking shit to boot. Like, I don't even know how these games are all shit. It shouldn't be possible. Here we have, as close as we can get to a physical representation of 1,000 monkeys at 1,000 typewriters, and yet none of them are advancing in any way, shape or form. Your Unity asset using, Kevin MacLeod music using, criticism dodging, zombie shagging tools.